It's an afternoon. Finally, we made it. All of the morning stuff that I had to do with the high school championships over, out, and done. And so now it's the afternoon. Wasting no time. It is us. We're going to talk about things. And I know that's an amazing pronoun because we got to talk about the Copa. If you missed the preview show, it's up and running on the network. We got to talk about the weekend and MLS Cup. We got to talk about all the other news. We got to talk some stupidity down here because there's a follow-up involving yesterday's version of stupidity down here. But wasting no time in a no dilly no dally zone, which is what we are here on a Friday. I don't think he's got coffee with him, but we'll find out. Bart Keeler, wasting no time. Good afternoon.
Hey.
Thanks for answering the bat signal. I just had I had a brainstorm, and it's like, considering what I saw with you on the 280 character app about what we're going to talk about, Bart Keeler hanging out with us on the Soccer for US POD. I think we're stealing content from the Soccer for US POD by having him on the show. But first and foremost, Fayette County. So the South Side's got something to say, and so 200 acres in Fayette County. So we finally got that figured out.
Which, makes a lot of sense for U.S. soccer. You knew it was going to be a large complex. You knew it was going to be several mini fields. And for those of you who don't know, the full-size soccer field, it ranges somewhere between 110 by 73-ish. That's a lot of space just to have a soccer field. So we knew it wasn't going to be inside the perimeter, certainly not really close to the city center of Atlanta. We just knew that was going to be the case. Fayetteville and Fayette County seemed to have been the entities that stepped up, specifically the Trilith Studios site. And, U.S. Soccer they're calling it the National Training Center. And that's, I think, the key to this is it's not just offices. We're not just picking up a moving soccer house down to Atlanta. They're building full-on soccer fields, indoor training facilities, indoor training courts, sports science. I mean, you name it for U.S. soccer is being put into this facility. And so, they need 200 acres, and Fayette County had it.
And I know a lot of folks, we were thinking it was going to be on the South Side because if you've got
airport.
So that way you're not messing with 285. You're not having to go up to the north side. You're not having to go up and figure out where can we go up 400. The South Side, you go away from traffic, or at least you figure out a way to stay away from Eagles Landing Parkway and figure out what to do there. But I'm
sure Jason would first tell you to always stay away from Eagles Landing. But
Eagles Landing Christian, not Eagles Landing, but Eagles Landing Christian. So we've got a facility now. And we also have a joint bid on the table for 2027. And, it's interesting that we find out other places on the men's side before we end up with something that's supposed to be in less than about 4 years. So 3.5 years away, we finally we have joint bids that are now available and out there as we're getting closer and closer to knowing where 2027 could be. So USA and Mexico submit a joint bid, and it is going to face opposition from Brazil and Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands. And so should the North American bid, courtesy of our friends at The Score, if it succeeds, it would extend a streak of major international tournaments being held in the region. Cindy Parlow-Cohn said nice things over 2 paragraphs. Last year, Women's World Cup was in Australia and New Zealand. You were there, reported for us, which is very cool. Last time the tournament was held in North America was Canada in 2015. Mm-hmm. The bid book is out. I can't wait to see what the bid book actually looks
I haven't. I want to look at it too because I'm curious to see what all the specs are, and I'm very curious when they get to that point of selecting stadiums and cities because I think similar a little bit to what we saw with the Australia New Zealand bid where they filled up all the big stadiums consistently. And most of the stadiums they were able to use were fairly large. I think that U.S. and Mexico both have a slew of 30,000, 40,000 plus stadiums that, especially in the U.S., I know will be full for a Women's World Cup, and I would hope that Mexico would support it well, and the same.
December 8th deadline. South Africa had been in the initial running only to withdraw their interest last month to focus on 2031. So the hosts are then expected to be appointed when the FIFA Congress meets May 17 of 2024. So we've got, 6 months before we figure it out, even though the bid books are out. And so let me do the math. May of 2024. For a tournament that is supposed to be held roughly in the same time frame 3 years later.
Yeah, it'll be 3 years and 2 months if we kick off in July, like we did this past tournament. So, again, this is something that FIFA needs to figure out. They have a product that is growing in popularity, that's growing in success, that's growing in financial success.
Yeah.
And if you want it to truly be bigger and better, you need to start planning farther in advance. I mean, Saudi Arabia knows that they're hosting in 2034. I would like to see within the next 2 years, 2031, decided for the women's side. Ricky, I don't know. U.S. Soccer didn't put their bid book out, so that may be a FIFA thing. But I'm sure FIFA, since today was the deadline, I'm sure FIFA will put something out, or whomever will put something out after this date, because they got it all in. I'm sure it hasn't been processed the way they needed to quite yet. But yeah, John, it's really frustrating because you saw the success that Australia and New Zealand had from a fan attendance, from the fervor you had on the ground, as reported by me and others on your network. It will probably be very similar in the U.S. And Mexico, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But you do still need to give some time so that people can A, plan for the event, individuals, and B, the cities can plan. And I know a lot of this will probably kind of copy and paste from 2026, but we don't want that to be complete. I mean, because there are cities in the U.S. specifically, like Cincinnati or Nashville, that could use their large MLS-sized stadiums to supplement the whole roster of sites. And I say that because they're 25,000 plus, which is perfect for some of the teams that maybe aren't, local, if you will. Some of the teams that, maybe won't draw big crowds to begin with. You see Copa America doing that. A lot of the 3-4 matchups in the groups are at, the small MLS stadiums. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see some of that from both U.S. and Mexico of using some smaller stadiums, some stadiums that aren't part of the larger bid. I would expect more stadiums and sites in Mexico as well. But those are the details we don't know. To Ricky's point, we don't know. We haven't seen the bid book. But there are stadiums in Mexico that are slightly smaller than Azteca and Monterrey and all those that would probably make very good Women's World Cup host sites. And there are some smaller stadiums in the U.S. that would also do the same.
All right, so it was 10 stadia or 10 venues used. 10 venues used. Say that 10 times fast. 10 venues were a part of it with Australia and New Zealand.
Yes.
And I've got the grid. Brisbane, capacity 56.8. Hindmarsh, 13.3. Melbourne,
that one's way too low. And that we'll talk about that in a second. So put a pin in that particular data point.
Melbourne Rectangular, 28.8. Perth Rectangular, 13.9. Stadium Australia, 69.3. Sydney Football Stadium, 38.8. Dunedin in New Zealand, 24.2. Eden Park, 40,005. Waikato, Hamilton, New Zealand, 16,271. Wellington Regional, 31, basically 31-1. So those were the 10 venues that were used last time out.
Yes.
Pull out your pin. Where do you want to go?
Okay, so I think something that FIFA does need to start looking into as we move forward with the FIFA Women's World Cup and trying to make it a better tournament for both players and fans is finding stadiums, maybe putting, we know there are capacity limits for stadiums at the Men's World Cup. As we've expanded their kind of lowering some of the capacity limits just because you need more stadiums. I think if you're FIFA, you need to look at that, doing that for the Women's World Cup. I would say that 15 is the lowest I would want a FIFA Women's World Cup stadium to be. And if you're going to host a knockout round match, it needs to be 25 or more. We in the U.S. won't have that problem. But if you look at the bid from Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany, outside of the large stadiums in the North Rhine-Westphalia region in Germany that's going to be hosting it, it's going to be tough to find large capacity stadiums in both Belgium and the Netherlands. Outside of Ajax Stadium in Amsterdam, you've got Feyenoord and a couple others in Rotterdam, if you want to use that. And then you've got Eindhoven. But the Belgian stadiums are very small comparatively, even too. I think only 2 outside of the national stadium even get above 25,000. So those are things that I would like to see FIFA try to implement, because as much as the success you had success of the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, you did have 3 stadiums that were very small capacity. I don't think that'll be a problem for the U.S. bid, and I think that's a selling point of the U.S. bid, is even compared to Brazil, you're going to have a bunch of large stadiums that you're going to fill, and Brazil has some that you can fill from 14.
Yeah.
But I think in the U.S. you have much larger stadiums, and they're going to be full. You have some big ones in Mexico that you can fill, and then you can also supplement that with some of the smaller stadiums that are still about 25 plus. So,
give me your 10. If you were in charge of the bid book, give me your 10.
Okay. One I would say is probably going to be more like 12. Okay. I think we'll see 6 and 6-ish maybe.
Sure.
I'll do. Hold on, I have a spreadsheet.
Good. Attaboy.
Let me pull it up. I was working in it yesterday to do.
Well, and I imagine one of them is Mercedes-Benz.
Actually, it's not, but that's because I'll explain why. I tried to keep it a little more close to the Mexican border.
Okay.
But anyway, my U.S. ones, I've got 7.
Okay.
L.A. at SoFi.
Okay.
Phoenix,
provided Stan he wants to take out some seats.
And if not SoFi, then we'll use BMO, honestly.
Okay.
Phoenix was State Farm. Glendale, sorry. Whatever.
Got it. No.
Seattle, Lumen Field.
Okay.
We know there's a lot of great women's soccer fans up in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
Philly, Lincoln Financial.
Okay.
Harrison with Red Bull.
Okay.
So that kind of checks off the New York, New Jersey area.
Got it.
Miami, I think Freedom Park will be open by then.
Sure.
And if it isn't, then play it at Hard Rock. Fine. And then Houston, not at NRG, but at Shell Energy. So I have some smaller stadiums listed. Okay. And then in Mexico, I would have obviously Azteca, BBVA in Monterrey, Cuauhtémoc Stadium in Puebla.
Okay.
Then you have the Zapopan Stadium, Stadium Akron. In Torreon, you would have Corona Stadium, and the kind of sleeper one that I think would be really cool is Stadium Mazatlan in
the Kraken. The Kraken in Mazatlan.
It's a 20,000 seat stadium. It could be expanded if you wanted, but it's a really cool site.
Yeah.
And would be a great kind of like location to put the World Cup. So you have a couple of small stadiums in each country for those smaller teams, if you will. But then you the bulk of your stadiums are 45 and up.
Okay.
And that's something that I don't think any other bid can kind of create. Brazil will have some, but I would love to see how Brazil is going to tell FIFA, not that FIFA actually cares, but how Brazil is going to tell FIFA how they're going to keep people safe, move people around the country, and fill the stadiums. Because I think that's the one thing the U.S. has advantage over all the others is those stadiums will be full. Those stadiums will be full of 45,000 plus people. And that, in my mind, should make FIFA's mouth water.
Mm-hmm. According to Meg Linehan and our friends at The Athletic, the bid notes that stadia with large, and I use stadia because I spent 2 years of Latin in high school and 2 semesters in college. The bid notes that
nerd alert.
Thank you. The bid notes that stadia with large capacities of 65,000 plus, training facilities, base camps, and travel accommodations are all easily leveraged from the 26 World Cup, as well as other tournaments that have been hosted by the two countries. No real surprise. So,
and that's where I do think Mexico will have to step up a little bit. I don't think they'll be okay with just 3 sites, which is fine. I want Mexico to have more. I would almost go as far as say, let Mexico host the final. A Women's World Cup final in Azteca could be a really cool event.
Yeah.
And would be, you know, one of those things, if you want to talk about growing the game, you have a burgeoning fervor for this sport, for the women's game specifically in Mexico. You know, they've hosted 2 World Cup finals in Azteca already. Azteca could be the third stadium to have hosted a men's and women's World Cup final.
Okay. Yeah. So I see where you're working here. So I think there's going to be a lot of cut and paste when it comes to what you're looking at, and not necessarily a surprise when it comes to those particular bids. Belgium, Netherlands, Germany. Nearly 3 years in the making, trio of countries, the first to formally submit bid interest the day after FIFA opened the application process March 23rd.
Yeah.
The bid says it aims to host the most sustainable World Cup ever by keeping distances between stadia limited to 300 kilometers, and says that affordable and readily available forms of high-quality public transport will ensure fans travel easily between cities in a manner which is eco-friendly. The 13 candidate cities: Anderlecht, Charleroi, Genk, Ghent, Amsterdam, Eindhoven, Heerenveen, and Sched, Rotterdam, Dortmund, Dusseldorf, Gelsenkirchen, and Cologne.
Yeah. And so, to be fair to them, that sounds great. However, we had that same particular offering in France in 2019, and it wasn't as well attended as I think a lot of people thought it would be, specifically by some of the European countries. I was a little shocked that some of the European countries didn't support their teams a little bit better there. But yeah, that's a great selling point. And as a fan, absolutely, I'd love to. That would be a great World Cup to attend. You know, you're looking at good day, Bam. We just talked about your country, so you know, if you're looking at it as a fan, which you know I am, it would be great to have the Belgium, Netherlands, Germany bid. I do think it's a little. If I could poke holes into it, and I don't think this is a negative, but it's just like, oh, it's not really Germany. It's one state of Germany. And you're only doing it because, like I said, you don't have large stadiums in Belgium and Netherlands. But, you know, hey, you got to add those. You hopefully can fill them. You know, Dusseldorf, I think, hosted in 2011 for the Women's World Cup there in Germany. So that'd be cool.
And they are also promising commercial success for all. The aim is to drive revenue growth of 50% compared to the 23 World Cup. This can be achieved from their press release. Be achieved through the delivery of significant value around the sale of global media rights, saving costs through the compactness of the tournament, maximizing revenues from European sponsorship market.
Whose PR is this from?
This is the triple bid: Belgium, Netherlands, Germany.
Yeah, they can go Elon Musk themselves because we got better sponsors here.
Well, and that's the thing.
I'm gonna say.
Well, and you look at it.
Budweiser, Visa, and Coca-Cola, by the way, all main sponsors of the tournament, are headquartered right here in the U.S.
And also, you know, with the tournament being probably in multiple time zones, how do you attract the East Coast U.S. audience and the Central Time Zone, probably two of the most populated time zones that would be watching the events? If you have them at 8 o'clock at night in the furthest time zone, you're probably looking at middle of the afternoon, early afternoon, East Coast time, Central Time Zone, and you ain't getting a whole lot of eyes. So it might be commercially successful, but not necessarily ratings, you know, gangbusters kind of stuff.
And one of the benefits of the U.S. bid, and granted the time change is, I think, as bad, but, you know, you could put a lot of the Asian teams on the West Coast. So their kickoff times can be a little closer to, you know, what you would have in Japan, Korea, for example. Australia is another one who, you know, they would watch their team. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is you could, you can say, oh, you're going to have people attend. The stadiums are not that large compared especially to ours.
The bid books are split into 5 sections.
Dan Graham, I'm questioning where you got that source. 7 stadia over 20,000. Maybe I was looking at 25,000 because I know they don't have that many over 25,000. They've got Jan Bradell. They've got their national stadium. I think they've got one more over 25. So,
and also remember that it's a tri-host, so it's not necessarily.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you add the German stadiums, and now you've got 4 of them that are over 30,000. So that helps.
And so you're looking at it that way. So bid books are split into 5 sections. Event vision and key metrics. This is where the bidding countries get to talk big about what they're thinking hosting a World Cup would do for their country, legacy of the game, plus offer one major detail when they'd like to host the tournament, which I would hope would be a key in trying to figure this out. Infrastructure. When FIFA performs its technical evaluation of bids, infrastructure makes up 70% of the score. And so I think that obviously with USA Mexico, you're looking at an A- being 70% of your score. So that's when you got a 60,
and that's a copy and paste from what we the 2026 is. Yeah. When you talk infrastructure, you're not just talking do we have public transportation, which I know is something that Europe will always have over us, but do you have the number of quality hotels? Do you have the number of training facilities? These are questions that because you got to house the people. Yeah. Not just playing, but you got to house people coming to visit.
And you've got to make sure that the housing of the individuals is within a decent time, within a decent mileage of the venues to where you're not sitting there and it's like, yeah, you're 30 miles away and you've got to go find a venue. But at least if you are here, say in Atlanta as a venue, you can find plenty of hotels within an hour. You rent transportation, you find Uber, you go public, whatever. Infrastructure is available in larger cities. Yeah. Services. Countries need to prove they have the hotels, the transportation, and all the other logistics needed to host, as well as prove they can do it safely and securely, to your point about Brazil. They also have to detail plans for medical services and anti-doping controls, plus show they've got the infrastructure for handling the demands on internet and other communication services.
Which the U.S. definitely also has, especially in the large cities. And I think that's the other thing that people just don't really realize when you're talking about the U.S. compared to literally any other country outside of like China, as the amount of large cities we have. There are a lot of countries with large cities for sure. I mean, Amsterdam, Brussels, Dortmund, these are all large cities. But when you compare that to the number of large cities the U.S. has and the number of large city infrastructure and just everything that is built in them, Kansas City is a large city compared to most international countries, and probably not going to be it might be part of the 2027 bid, but those things matter to FIFA. Well, supposedly.
Yes. Well, and I would imagine also that if you had games at Jihad, you could use the Kansas City Current Stadium as a training facility.
Yes, and Kansas City, Sporting Kansas City, as well as you have Swope Soccer Park as well in that area. So you're absolutely right. Same with, if you're talking about, I haven't gone through the whole bid book for the U.S., but, you look at Dallas and the Arlington as a host site, you've got FC Dallas, that massive complex. You've got other massive complexes in the Dallas area. Yeah. In Atlanta, sure, you have, Atlanta United training grounds, but you have SSA, you have MOBA, you have a lot of training facilities.
And you have this training facility that's being developed down in Fayette County that should be done by 2020.
Right, absolutely. And honestly, if that's done by 2027, then U.S. soccer is going to want to try to use that as much as possible, showcase their home training facility, and so that would be a reason why Atlanta would be would get a bid there. So
section number 4, commercial. Time for the money. FIFA wants estimates on just how much money hosting the tournament in this particular location would make.
That's the thing. That's the thing that the States has and Mexico have. Like, you're talking about. The NFL alone, outside of FedEx Field, has 30 stadiums that are all over 60,000 that could easily host, for the most part, something like this.
Yes.
Not all of them are. Yeah, sure. We don't need to talk about the Superdome or US Bank or whatever. But you consider how many large stadiums we have. That the largest stadium in the Netherlands and Belgium is 50,000 in Belgium, 55 in Netherlands. All of our stadiums could be bigger than that, and that's just something that's going to boost your bid if you want to go that route. I still would suggest a couple of smaller stadiums, but if you had 2 per country, you still got 3 to 4 60,000 plus stadiums you can use.
Sustainability and human rights is number 5.
This is where we have our issues.
FIFA is looking for, quote, and once again, this is from Meg Linehan at The Athletic, quote, explicit public commitments to sustainability, human rights, sustainable procurement, and climate action in this section. It's also looking for more information on the country's human rights strategy and any potential risks, as well as their strategy to mitigate the climate impacts of a major tournament.
I mean, that's where probably Belgium, Netherlands, and Germany have us beat. From a sustainability and all that, they definitely have us beat. But, you also look at the U.S. and the amount of stadiums that have zero waste, not just initiatives, but, LEED certified buildings, all these things and those are things that if you give them 3 years in advance, they can do. But a lot of the newer built stadiums are already at that point. And most of the stadiums in the NFL especially are, getting to that point. So, yes, Germany definitely would have us built on that because, a number of things. But we all know that commercial is what wins out. And I don't see how, from just pure ticket sales, you wouldn't have the massive success that you could have in the U.S. and Mexico.
And according to Meg Linehan, bid books are usually very lengthy reading. The Australia-New Zealand bid book, 188
pages. Yeah, it was a lot.
Long. Generally, though, the more advanced work done, the stronger the bid. So that's where we got the 3 teams. We have the 3 teams that are bidding for the 27 World Cup, and we won't have an answer until 3 years out. So good work by FIFA. Copa America came out with their groups last night. It was a 2-hour presentation, and most of it had to do with some dude that looked like Woody Woodpecker. And he was wearing a soccer jersey.
All right, we got to pause on that, John.
You're calling your first time out?
I need everyone in the comment section to vote. Is that an eagle or not?
No, I would say no.
Because nothing about that looked like an eagle. It looked like Woody the Woodpecker, a hen, the rooster from Fox from Robin Hood, Disney's Robin Hood. Like, it does not look like an eagle. In the comments,
the old France World Cup mascot also came to mind too.
Very much that, yeah. But in the Twitch pitch or wherever you're watching, yes or no, is that an eagle?
Yeah, and let us know in the comments if you listen to this on tape. No, it's not an eagle. It is El Capitan. And he did have the moves, so he did have the proper.
I mean, it's cute. I don't hate it. It's not an eagle to me.
No, it's not an eagle. No. So did not look like an eagle. Looked like Woody Woodpecker to me. And and he got most of the airtime. He got more airtime, I think, than the groups did.
Yeah, I wasn't watching live because I was at multiple events last night, but I kept checking Twitter, and it was just like every single person tweeting about it was like, why are we 35 minutes, 48 minutes, 50 minutes into this damn thing? We don't have teams picked. We don't know where anyone's going.
Because it's a TV show. That's why. That's exactly why.
You could make the TV show an hour-long period. You could it was just so I don't understand these things.
So groups are out. Argentina, Peru, Chile, and CONCACAF number 5, which you can pick up in, I think, in the middle of the middle of the store there. You go to Macy's, it's right there. You go walking into Macy's, you can pick up CONCACAF number 5 right there. They have folks that want you to pick up CONCACAF number 5 for the holidays. Group B, Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Jamaica. Group C, USA, Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia. Group D, Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, and CONCACAF number 6. What'd you think?
I thought the U.S. got a slightly harder group than I think we would have wanted, and that's really just because of Uruguay.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I think if you're looking at if you're Canada, for say, you have to qualify because y'all talked all this big game and then fell flat on your faces, and the rest of the CONCACAF is loving it.
Yeah, well, and they got to get through TNT, and the winner of that turns into CONCACAF number 5.
You go into Group A, and I think you could argue that you have a chance with Peru and Chile to beat them. But if you're from the other CONCACAF qualifier going into Group D, Brazil, Colombia, Paraguay, that's tougher because Brazil and Colombia alone are going to be a problem for you to beat. So if you're who is it? Costa Rica,
Honduras,
Honduras, and Costa Rica. If you're one of those two, that's a uphill battle for you because that's kind of the thing, right? You got to beat the one team in your group. If you get one win in your group, you're doing okay. But if you are the Honduras, Costa Rica winner, I don't see how you beat Brazil or Colombia.
Nope.
Probably can beat Paraguay. But if you're Canada or Trinidad, Peru and Chile are beatable teams. Peru would be tough, but they're beatable.
Yeah.
I thought Mexico with Ecuador, it's a tough one for them, but Venezuela is not a very good international team. Jamaica could be a surprise, and Jamaica has been good recently. I've always cautioned if Jamaica can do what they claim to say they can do. As I've always said, don't trust the Jamaicans. But they are poised, if you're looking at the CONCACAF teams, Jamaica's poised to get out of that group if they can get a good result against a Venezuela team that I think they're better than, and an Ecuador team that, if they get them on the right day, they can beat Mexico or Ecuador.
So you're looking at, and here's the U.S. grid. And apparently tickets are going to start to be available, all 4 of them, in January
2024. So stop asking. I don't know until 2024.
Well, and there might be only be like 8 tickets available for everybody. Period.
Yeah.
June 23rd, Bolivia at Jerry World. June 27, Panama here at SDH HQ over at Mercedes-Benz.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's probably going to come down to the game at Jihad at Arrowhead on July 1st. Yeah. Uruguay at Arrowhead.
Well, I think the thing you have to look at for the U.S. is your toughest game is your final match of the group. So if you take a Cape Verde business against Bolivia, which you can, Panama, which you should,
and you get Bielsa at Arrowhead to wrap.
You're looking at an Uruguay team that also had to play these 2 teams. Who knows how ragged they're going to be run at that point. Uruguay is a good team. I'm not even going to try to say that they're not, but you get to that final match and you don't know what teams' motivations are.
Right.
Really the motivation probably is to just avoid Brazil in the quarterfinals. But, you're going to have to play in the semifinal anyway. So it's not like, you can win your first 2 matches. They're very winnable. If the U.S. doesn't beat, I don't want to say if they don't beat both of them. I don't know where you get that from, though. Like, I'm sorry. I'm going to push back because are you telling me that Bolivia and Panama are favorites over the U.S.? Because unless we don't beat them, I got to know where you're coming up with that, because that seems like a hot take with no reals. Like, that's hot, but that's not like me saying I think Jamaica is getting out of Group B.
Right.
You're saying that the U.S. isn't going to finish top 2 in a group with Uruguay, Panama, and Bolivia? Bolivia's not good.
I think it's going to come down to that last match, obviously, in group to figure out if they are going to win group. I think they get out of group, but I think that Uruguay match that determines whether they win the group. And then obviously you want to win the group so you don't have to face Brazil in the first round of knockout.
I mean, I think if you're looking at it, Panama is a team that could surprise people. They are playing incredibly well under their Danish coach. They have been building a lot, but you're talking about a U.S. team that will have its best players. And the last time the U.S. team played, the last time the U.S. played Panama with our best group of players, we beat them 5-1 in Orlando. So I don't know what you talk about and you underestimate them. It's the Copa America. Who are we underestimating?
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then fire everyone, right? I'm not joking because, but that mentality, I just don't buy that, man. I think you're banking on even an underestimation. Is that a draw against Panama? Like, you're telling me you're going to not get a win against both Panama and Bolivia? Who is losing? Who are we losing to?
Yeah, I mean that to me is the big question in all of this. I think they take care of business, and it's going to come down to that third match in Kansas City to figure out whether or not they get out. They win the group or finish second and have to face Brazil sooner or later. That to me is how I'm looking.
See, the difference, Bam, is you're used to watching Australia, who has no good talent, and we have the U.S. where we have Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, and other players who actually know how to play soccer.
See, how many cups of coffee have you had today, sir?
I had 1 cup of coffee, but 32 ounces of sweet tea from Chick-fil-A. So.
There you go. Okay, so Bam's saying lose to Uruguay.
Bam started it. Don't even look at me.
And drawing versus Panama and Bolivia. So winning the
group. I'm sorry. Bolivia's not good. Like, I'm really sorry. They're not good. And they're going to have to come play the U.S. in the U.S. where we don't, we have very good success here.
So that's what you're staring at right now with the Copa. And I know that what I wanted to do was wrap up with you in discussing. You wanted to bring in the college game today.
Well, I gotta shout out WVU playing in the College Cup semifinals.
Yeah, that's at 8:30 tonight.
Well, we play Clemson at 6 tonight. So
I thought Notre Dame, Oregon State was at 6, and West Virginia Clemson today.
Boy, they probably all of my stuff said 6, but who knows? They've changed it.
College Cup semis, according to our friends at Soccer America, Notre Dame, Oregon State at 6, West Virginia, Clemson at 8:30. You might have a longer runway to get ready.
Well, my WVU men's soccer posted 6 p.m.
Okay.
On ESPNU.
Okay. Well, either way, the doubleheader's on the U, and West Virginia's in the Final Four.
Right. I've got a hotel room booked and tickets purchased for Sunday night and Monday in Louisville. So
wow.
They're all refundable.
Okay, well, all right. So then, so you get to enjoy it because of the high school football championships. But obviously, we'll have something to talk about in 2 weeks.
Yes,
it's going to be like morning update, afternoon update on Monday through Friday next week because of me being at Mercedes-Benz wearing makeup and a suit.
You'll be busy. Yeah, yes. I can probably do a live show on Monday though from College Cup.
I bet you could. Men's All-America, according to our friends at Soccer America Daily, the United Soccer Coaches announced the D1 Men's All-America. You end up with a familiar name, Garrison Tubbs from Wake Forest, one of the defenders that is a part of it. And I'm staring at first and second teams. And there we go. Marcus Caldera, the sophomore forward from Mississauga, Ontario, is second team forward for West Virginia. And you also end up with a senior forward on the third team, Yutaro Sukada.
Yeah,
from Japan.
Both Sukada specifically has been massive during this College Cup run, but Caldera was massive. He was a great goal scorer during the regular season, and we haven't seen him come through as much in College Cup, but we're still winning. So and he's producing. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad that this particular College Cup is on my half of the country, because when the women played, it was all the way out in San Jose, and that just wasn't. I wasn't able to do that on a turn of a dime, unfortunately.
Well, and of course, the airborne DJ Tom Russo. Since we are in afternoon drive, I don't believe in safe harbor anyway. There you go. So
up the Beavers.
Yes, thanks. Just had it stuffed. All right,
Oregon State.
Yeah, exactly. So doubleheader at 6 and 8:30. So basically, did we not just do your next episode of Soccer for USPOD or give you?
No, we'll have plenty more to talk about. I recorded about the women's games earlier this week that I need to edit and get to you.
Okay.
But I've been working, and so editing takes a little bit longer. And last night I had my new company Christmas party. That was fun to learn the second week of my job, as well as playing soccer. So just got to adapt to the new. The new schedule.
Yes, and then styling and profiling and letting everybody see how you're styling as you're heading to work. So T. Graham says the plus says Clemson and Virginia is 6. So let's
both
see.
On ESPNU, by the way.
Yes, both on the U. So take a peek at that. All right, enjoy your weekend. Thank you for parachuting in on a moment's notice. to talk about stuff. And that's the official term because we had a lot of things to talk about. So thank you, my friend, and enjoy your weekend. And I will catch up with you on the flip side of the high school football championship.
Enjoy all your high school football. Enjoy all the makeup. I hope you have a good face care routine.
I do. I have all of the appropriate wipes in the hotel for 3 days, and I'm already.
Can I make my prediction for Saturday?
As you should. Go for it.
I think LAFC gets it done.
Okay.
They can score with Columbus.
Well,
it may not be the same way as Columbus likes to score, but they can score with Columbus.
Yeah, LAFC plays like the ball has cooties these days.
Yeah. And if Wilfred Nancy doesn't start Julian Gressel, then I don't think that you can rely on him to put in two crosses for an assist against LA.
Yeah, it would be So it's the decision's going to be for Wilfred Nancy. Do you want the defensive liability with Julian Gressel, making Moreira end up having to go with Bouanga 1v1 down the left hand, the LAFC left hand side, Moreira be by himself because you know that Gressel's going to be going forward? Or do you have Mo Farsi take up that space, be a little more defensive, and have Farsi and Moreira keep an eye on Bouanga? I think that's going to be the key triangle to keep an eye on for MLS Cup.
It's going to be fun. We'll see. We'll see how MLS produces this finally as their first, their own show. So I'm curious to see how the production is around this as MLS gets to actually showcase their product, their prime product in their own way.
Yes, we'll definitely see that. Be well, my friend. We'll catch up with you. There's Bart. Bart's doing stuff. And Bam, thanks for dropping by. This was a bit of a wild hair doing an afternoon show. I'd like for us to get to the point to where we have the morning show and then the afternoon show. We do a show and afternoon drive. We got to have sponsors, and we got to have folks that that will be able to do it. But because of stuff that I had to do this morning, I couldn't do a morning show, and that's why we posted Prim and Proper and reminded you about what was going on with our early Copa review. And so doing this with everything laid out the way that it is, this is where we ended up promoting things. So according to Tom, Tom's got a good buddy of his whose son plays for OSU. So there you go. D. Graham says that winning the group might come down to goal difference. Wouldn't necessarily be a shock. But I do think that matchup against Bielsa in Kansas City is going to be the big one. But, let us know what you think about the mascot, El Capitan, for the Copa, and we will roll through all of that. All right, so since it's a Friday and we're rolling, what's on your mind? We got stuff. Bam. Hope the vet says that everything is okay with the puppo. So hope everything is okay there. What's on your mind? Don Garber spoke words. We'll get into that and let him know. Apparently there is not going to be a fourth DP. But do not be surprised if there's anything involved, expansion of salary cap, that kind of stuff. So he did the State of the State today, and so I misspell Garber. That'd be nice if I could actually spell things, So according to folks who were at the State of the State, Jillian says, biggest takeaways, Apple CEO Tim Cook says that the partnership over-delivered. No plans to add a fourth DP. A Liga MX-style Apertura Clausura format is possible, and they will not stop for the summer tournaments, the 2026 World Cup being the likely exception. Changes, apparently, according to Lizzie Bescherano, are going to be announced next week when it comes to players, salaries, those kinds of things. So no fourth DP, but there will be changes announced next week. According to the Soccer Don, no plans to go beyond 30 teams at the moment. Of course, if folks were to wander up and sit there and go, here's $500 million. I don't think Major League Soccer is going to sit there and say, hey, we're not going to go to 32 teams. And the 2024 MLS season schedule is set to be announced on December the 20th. So keep an eye on that. Love the new playoff format. He says it was a great success. According to Tommy Scoops, he says, Garber, we can't afford to shut the league down. We cannot afford to shut the league down for summer international tournaments. So they're going to be playing during the Copa America. So you're going to have MLS going the same time Copa America is going on. Says they'll break for the World Cup. How can we reconfigure the schedule? might be the question, suggesting perhaps an Apertura Clausura like Liga MX. For the next few years, this is quick quotes from Tom Bogert. North America will be the epicenter of the beautiful game. Yes, they will. Yes, it will. Sources have told Bogert no plans to add a fourth DP over and over again. And spiking the idea of the fourth DP and a source that wasn't even discussed in meetings, despite rumors on the website, reflecting on the Save the Crew movement. That was not a fun time for anyone going through that process. It's not one I hope to ever go through ever again. So that seems to be the greatest hits of the ideas in and around Major League Soccer. So pausing for Copa, can't afford it. It impacts everything MLS has to deliver for all of the stakeholders. So keep an eye out next week. Exciting things that we are going to announce. The question from Jeffrey Carlisle to Don Garber. No fourth DP announcements coming out of the board meeting. So keep an eye on the board meeting next week, and then we can find out what the exciting things are that are going to be announced. I think that Don Garber, when he was asked if there are too many roster rules in Major League Soccer, I think you'll start seeing in the years ahead some streamlining of those rules. And you are correct, Hudson. I actually tell you what, Hudson, I'm going to wait until the top of the hour. When we get to the hour mark, then it will be that designation. Might be changes to our participation in the future, MLS participation in U.S. Open Cup. But he also says that the league embraces the competition, which has a valuable history, wants to help make it of greater value to more parties. Leagues Cup was a smashing success on every measure. This is a tournament that will continue to grow. Said the format might accommodate Liga MX travel next year, but that no indication that it includes playing games in Mexico. Once again, the calendar changed. The fourth DP not happening. Roster rule changes announced next week. Talking with U.S. Soccer on how to change the Open Cup to give it support. Don Garber says he loves the new playoff format. Love the format. Attendance was up. Ratings were up. We've got to look at it all, including our roster rules. Goal is what the league wants to look like in 2027 after the World Cup. So you've got to, if there is no DP, then you probably are going to see some kind of a change in the cap. Boosting the cap for what? Maybe $1.5 million, something like that. So somewhere in there. That's what Tafka is looking at, somewhere in the $1.5 million range. And I am seeing if there is anything that I missed looking at other individuals. So remember, the 2024 schedule release December 20. Keep an eye on that. December 20. Tickets for the Copa America made available starting mid-January of 2024. And I know that a lot of folks are sitting there saying, hey, what do we get information? A lot of folks are sitting there. Copa America themselves are saying that sign up for all the alerts at copaamerica.com, and it gives you some more email that you have to sit there and sift through on a daily basis. U.S. Soccer confirms Brian Sciaretta that U.S. U23 head coach Marko Mitrovic will be on Berhalter's staff for the January camp. And so we'll keep an eye on that as well going forward. Let's see. What am I missing? Am I missing anything here? I don't think I missed anything out of the Don Garber section of the program. So I think, like I said, in the Don Garber section, I think we're okay. But he came out today and was ready to talk stuff. But biggest things, once again, dates, no fourth DP, board meeting next week, announcements out of the board meeting, and look for salary numbers to increase, and the schedule's coming out in 2 weeks. National Signing Day, I think, actually. I think it's National Signing Day, and then MLS schedule. So we'll keep an eye on that. So let's see what's been on your mind today. Tom Russo, Everton shoving it up the PL. Keister, 1 win at a time. Big win yesterday over Newcastle, and definitely a big win there. Got them out of the relegation zone. Prim and proper sets up your weekend. and we'll get the chance to catch up with all of that there. Jared Smith joining us on a Friday afternoon. I had to kind of make an executive decision, so we're doing an SDH PM to discuss things today.
Yeah, that's how it goes. You just kind of make things work, especially at this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don Garber spoke words today, and we just went over them.
He did, and it you know what the weird part of all of this is we had to like reckon with the fact that Don Garber spoke words, and we had to balance that with Shohei Watch at the same time.
Apparently, Shohei
has not.
Possibly
Toronto, but nothing's confirmed, and you got a bunch of people saying, "Hey, if you see it confirmed, it's not yet."
Yeah.
So, Don Garber was competing against everybody was doing the flight aware thing on a flight from Anaheim to Toronto.
To the T-Dot. Yeah, that flight is supposed to land in 26 minutes, by the way.
We will find. Well, this is where you need college football Twitter in your life.
Yes.
Because you can like suspect different things as a fan, but let me tell you that there is a cat somewhere, probably in rural Mississippi, who can track a plane better than anyone you've ever seen in your life, like jarringly well. So,
yes. Yeah, the folks that tracked tail numbers in the Southeastern Conference, those are the guys that you really need to look at. Tom says he doesn't believe for 1 second that they never discussed a fourth DP. Clearly must not be serious about growing the league. So the takeaways were from Don Garber speaking words that they never discussed a fourth DP. Schedule's coming out on National Signing Day, but there will be some adjustments in salaries, salary numbers, or financials, I guess is probably the best way to phrase it, when they come out of the board meeting at the tail end of next week.
Yeah, and to Tom's point, like I don't necessarily take it as a whether or not the league is serious kind of thing. Like it's something they are going to have to address, and I'm in the kind of wait and see camp.
Yeah.
What sort of adjustments to salary do you do to how much people can spend? Because if you lift the reins on a bunch of other stuff, and you make it easier to have like multiple guys making right under that DP threshold without having the limits, then we're having a different conversation. If it's the same, then yeah, I mean it's frustrating because guess what? You're not going to be able to keep up in this hemisphere, especially as things become more global. We will just have to see, which kind of sucks to say, but hey, we'll just have to see.
And he did also admit that that they will not be slowing down for Copa America. They probably will for World Cup, because the financials aren't there. He said that Apple, Tim Cook, the CEO, says that apparently Apple over-delivered. Well, when you have Lionel Messi joining into the league, then I would think that it would over-deliver. And he also the Don Garber individual also mentioned the idea that, we probably have too many roster designations and there's too much alphabet soup. So there might be.
It is too complicated, but that's been known for a long ass time that like that's not news. That you have that one of the biggest issues with MLS is the fact that it is built upon rules upon rules upon rules. And it's a lot of that is wildly unnecessary.
Yep.
Instead of fixing things, instead of fixing the rules, they have consistently built upon the initial rule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like you've got the house foundation, it's like paving a road, and you've got that initial round of bricks or whatever it is, and then you just pave over it with asphalt. And instead of fixing the asphalt when there's potholes, you just continue to pave over it.
Yep.
And you end up with more potholes and more cracks. And let's just, it's like a third level. It's another inch thick of asphalt that we're just putting over the road and going over the problem instead of addressing the road.
Yep.
We see that a lot.
And we do, and a lot of it is something the league has to deal with beyond the concept of a fourth designated player. It's the fact that a lot of your rules are just built upon themselves. Like you're just stacking up, and just simplify the thing instead of writing this like we're writing like accounting laws, or with GAAP.
Yes.
Instead of doing that, just simplify the damn thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I am begging you, just find a way to simplify this damn thing, so we're not like coming up with new amps. The reason we have all these jokes about gam tam, slam bam, thank you ma'am, is because you've complicated everything step after step, and it's none of it's necessary.
Yes. Let's see. In college football down here, the OSG sports side of things over on the Review, Pete Thamel's reporting Tulane and John Sumrall have agreed to terms on a 6-year deal. Announcement coming shortly. Sumrall won the Fun Belt the last 2 years at Troy. So we have.
Who was it? Who was it? It was Troy Brown. No, Neil Brown was at Troy.
Neil Brown was at Troy, and Bart wants to try to get rid of him at West Virginia, but they can't.
Well, I mean, it hasn't worked at West Virginia to the same I think to the same expectation that was set at Troy.
Yeah, and so that when you mentioned Neil Brown, that shout you heard, that scream, was Bart discussing. Neil Brown. We haven't had the chance to catch up about Fayette County.
We have not had the chance to catch up about Fayette County. I'm excited for the rest of the country to learn about this weird split between the North and South Metro.
200 acres.
This low-key civil war that's going to unfold, and people are going to be very confused.
Yes, they absolutely are. So 200 acres, a big facility. Looking forward to that. What about the Copa draw for you?
It's a tough group for the U.S., first of all. It's not an ideal group. Panama is going to be frisky to deal with. It's kind of like picking up an urchin. You're going to probably hurt yourself doing it.
Don't do it. Don't pick that up.
I don't love it. I'm hoping that Canada gets just absolutely waxed so that we get the potential of Messi versus Jay Fortune, because that's the battle we all want to see. Locally, though, that'd be cool if we get like Messi versus Trinidad in that first game. That would be very enjoyable. But for the U.S., man, it's a tough ass draw. Like that's gonna be it's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna come down to that Panama game. Can you get it done? You gonna get a nice little. We're already gonna get an idea of what Luis Suarez is at this point of his career. And we get to see the rest of Uruguay, which no one's really going to want to do. Bolivia, you should be fine dealing with. It would be very funny if Bolivia, and Bart probably doesn't think it's as funny as I am, and Panama would not think it's funny if it happened to them. It would be very funny to me if Bolivia just hopped out of the water and just started biting people in the jugular. But then again, I am a broken human.
Yeah,
I'm a broken soul.
You enjoy chaos more than the average bear.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I am all for like how much chaos can you deliver upon? How much chaos can you deliver to me? I'm interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the fun part. Okay, so we'll see what's going on. A lot of folks are looking at John Morosi's account and see what's going on in Toronto. So we'll see what.
God. Well, I mean, the whole thing has been like, well, he's not officially signing with anybody yet. It's like, I expect it to be Toronto, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I would be highly amused if it's not. Also, I would be highly amused if it's not the Dodgers or Toronto. That would be the funniest here outcome. Because that first he's gonna sign with Toronto thing came out of a Dodgers account.
Mm-hmm.
What if nobody's right?
Yeah, well, Morosi says that Ohtani's en route to Toronto. Representative of CAA would not comment when asked about Ohtani's travel plans. Ohtani does not have a signed agreement with any at MLB team. So that plane might be the plane, and it might just be a processional to Sky Dome to sit there and talk shop, or maybe they're just going to be in one of the maybe they're going to Swiss Chalet there at Pearson and just discuss things over a buffet.
Well, I mean, yeah, man. What if they? This is just the courting process. So I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
Yeah.
it's just the courting process. It's like, yeah, we're gonna fly a plane to Toronto. Say, hey, what's it to you? You go to Wayne Gretzky's Steakhouse right there in downtown. You under the shadow of Sky Dome. You go to Gretzky's and get a big steak and just kind of sit there. Can we have a back table, please? No, you're only allowed the window table. It's a Friday. We're busy here.
Yeah. It's Toronto. You ain't special.
No, not yet. So Tom has been discussing. Yeah, we'll take Ohtani for the Phils, and D. Graham.
You have enough beautifully chaotic, talented players in Philadelphia. Although I fully applaud Philadelphia's ownership for willingness to just ball the hell out.
Yeah.
I am at some points critical of Atlanta's lack of spending in that department. You can survive without spending out your nose. But as many players as Atlanta has under value, go big.
Yes.
Go big for somebody.
D. Graham with an excellent point. Maybe Ohtani just wanted some poutine.
That's always a good suggestion, and it's always good.
Yes. By the way, yeah, we have passed the 1 hour mark here on this particular day of the week, and since we hit the halfway point, or at least past the 1 hour mark here on a Friday.
Jason just threw something wherever the hell he is.
We've got this thing called MLS Cup this weekend. I don't know if you've heard of it, and it is a championship game amongst the two teams that are remaining in the bracket. And the gentleman named Don Garber enjoyed and said nothing but positives about the new playoff format, and said that it over delivered as well, and you got a lot of folks to watch, more viewers, all that kind of stuff. So December 9th, it is Columbus Crew and it is LAFC, and a lot of folks are looking at this particular matchup and they're going, this was not what I had in my bracket. My bracket blew up early anyway. But we knew going in, we'll take it a team at a time, starting with Columbus. We knew that Columbus was dangerous as hell, and all you had to do was look at that opening round playoff series.
We did. We knew they were going to be a pain to deal with. We know they still can be, and we know that, like we talked about when we talked about it with Nico, that like Columbus can, in a not dissimilar way from what LA was capable of in the past, they can hit you with that 1-2-3 combination real fast. Like you're in a boxing match, you're hitting your rhythm, and all of a sudden it's pop, 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 and you're wondering what the hell happened. So yeah, I mean, it's they're very tricky to deal with, and I want to see how LA deals with it, because LA is a much more pragmatic team than they've been in the past. They can handle a slog, and we've seen Columbus come back from being down. But how does either one of these teams respond to things not going their way immediately?
The side dishes on our Christmas buffet, Crew are a plus 122. That's been fairly constant. 90-minute draws a plus 245. LAFC on the road is a plus 218. Fun facts, by the way. LAFC's won all three of their matches against Columbus by a combined score of 7-0. Three teams earned their first ever victory over an opponent in an MLS Cup final. Chicago against DC United in 1998. They'd lost two previous. Houston versus New England in 2007. They had drawn 4, including a penalty shootout in the 06 Cup final, and lost 1. And Atlanta United in Portland 5 years ago. Happy anniversary, by the way, Atlanta United fans. 5 years ago today, Atlanta United beat Portland, and they had drawn twice previously. Columbus has lost only one of its last 29 home matches in all comps dating back to early August of 2022. They've won 20 of those. So 21-8. including going unbeaten 17 straight at lower.com, winning 13, drawing 4.
And so like the thing is, like they both of them, they've made it tough on people to play them multiple times this year. And I want to see like how this game goes, because I had the same question about all these games, which was the longer these games stay tight, the longer they stay scoreless, who blinks first?
Right.
It seemed like I thought Houston had a chance the longer it went scoreless in the LA Houston game.
Yeah.
LA gets the set piece goal. They rode out that tension beautifully. They handle Houston, and Houston has most of the ball, most of the play. LA was fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be fine with Columbus having most of it? Because God love Houston. This is a very pro Houston show.
Yeah.
Obviously, with me waving the banner for Benny Ball. Columbus is just a different animal than most teams were this year offensively.
Yeah.
Go look at goals scored this year. I think it was Columbus, Atlanta. I think it was Columbus, Atlanta, and St. Louis for the top 3.
Efforting.
I can effort too. I too have the Google.
I was going to say, continue your talking points. I will
see. I mean, I got it right here. Goals for Columbus had 67, Atlanta had 66.
Yeah.
And 62 for St. Louis. Like Columbus and Atlanta were those two teams that like this year, and the difference being that
only 3 teams north of 60 in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, and the difference being that Columbus will keep you out of the net. Atlanta, not so much. Atlanta was very welcoming into the net.
Yeah.
But man, it was just like it's just the fact that Columbus is a different animal than Houston when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net. Mm-hmm. They are much more aggressive. They can hit you with those quick combos, and they can bury you on the edge of halftime, as we saw them do to Atlanta. We saw them do it to a number of teams this year. The place where it gets weird is the end of the game, as always with Columbus. It's always the end of the game is tense for them, which is what made it so hilarious that the way they beat Cincinnati was just leaning on them at the end. But John, you go back and watch that Cincinnati-Columbus game, man, and I don't know if this is just strictly, hindsight, or even how I felt in the moment.
Yeah.
But going back and looking at it, being like, man, Cincinnati looked toasted. Mm-hmm. Like it looked more inevitable. And I don't know if my rose tinted glasses are on because I know the outcome or what it is, but it just kind of feels like when you look back and you're like, oh man, Cincinnati felt doomed for a while there.
Yeah. Also, in our fun facts, Crew's only loss in a single-leg home playoff match came in 2015's MLS Cup final against Portland. They've won 5 and lost 1. Steve Cherundolo has led LAFC to MLS Cup finals in each of his first 2 seasons, the third coach to do that. Bruce Arena, Brian Schmetzer, the other 2. Cherundolo's advanced in his first 6 MLS Cup playoff rounds, as only Bruce Arena in his first 8 had a longer run to begin his career. Columbus, unbeaten in 6 straight home matches and all comps against Western Conference opponents, winning 4 and drawing 2, while LAFC is winless in their last 4 away at Eastern Conference foes, drawing 3 and losing 1. That's why I think that the 90-minute draw, as much as I think Columbus is going to get it done in regulation, that 90-minute draw is staring me right in the face. LAFC's last road win versus the East and the Crew's last home loss versus the West came in a 2-0 LAFC win over Crew at lower.com in May of 22. Cucho provided an assist on the winning goal in the Eastern Conference final, now has contributed to a goal in each of his first 5 MLS Cup playoff matches, 4 goals and 2 assists. Only Carlos Ruiz in his first 8 in 2002 and 3, and Raul Ruiz-Diaz in his first 7 from 2018 to 2020 have longer streaks to start their postseason careers in MLS Cup history. Denny Bouanga has scored in both of LAFC's road playoff matches this year, scoring the lone goal in both wins. the only player in MLS history to score in 3 consecutive road playoff matches, Nacho Piatti, who did so for Montreal in 2016. It is a 4-10 kick. Columbus 16-9-9 hosting LAFC at 14-10-10. It's on both sides, Apple TV, and on the free side, it is on Big FOX and Fox Deportes. So I think Columbus gets it done. It wouldn't surprise me if the way things were laying out, if you ended up with it going the extra 90, because if this pragmatic, and I mean that in the negative sense, LAFC that we're seeing these days doesn't get those transition opportunities that we're talking about and that we have been talking about, LAFC, I think, is happy to just continue like they were against Philly, to just kind of wash the game down, kick the can down the road, and see what happens if you go late into the extra 30 or get into PKs. I could see LAFC bogging this thing down completely and turning it into a completely unwatchable game at times.
Yeah, I could see it happening. Yeah, we got to see. I'm still going to stick by what I said when we were talking to Nico, that like, give me that, like,
You want that 4.5, don't you?
Yeah, man, give me that 3-2 crazy. I know we don't get many high scoring playoff game, like championship games.
Yeah.
I feel like this could have the making of that, and I stand by the way you get to it too, which is LA finds a goal, possibly through a set piece. They feel good about their life, and then Columbus immediately makes them feel not good about their life and hits them with it, gets the first one, and then it opens up the floodgates, and it's just pop, 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 pop.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden you look up and the round has shifted against you, and then LA has to pull one back and can't pull the third back. That's my prediction. Will it happen? Probably not. Do I want it to happen? Yeah, it'd be entertaining as hell.
Temperature is supposed to be a high of 62 and a low of 39. PM rain in Columbus, 80% chance. Winds from the south at 14, because this thing that we're watching on the Weather Channel that is just picking up a whole bunch of momentum and going from southwest to northeast is giving a bunch of different folks a bunch of different weather, and this is what's going to hit Columbus tomorrow. So you could have a slick surface in Columbus at the Death Star, and you could have a team in LAFC that plays like the ball has cooties, very, very Red Bullsian of them, and just trying to do what it takes to manage what's going on. And, you've got folks that are wondering about the future of Carlos Vela and Giorgio Chiellini. Neither have said that they're done after this go around, but I think both of their contracts are up. So I think LAFC will have some interesting decisions coming up shortly after the season is over, figuring out what they're going to look like in 2024 and beyond. Wilfred Nancy gets to finally show what he's been doing in both Montreal and in Columbus, frankly. He gets to do it on a national stage in the last game of the year. I mean, Wilfred Nancy, obviously for us on this program and on this network, we've talked about how tremendous a coach he is and what he's been able to do with Columbus. Now he gets noticed, finishing third in the MLS Cup in the MLS Coach of the Year voting. He gets to do it now on a national stage.
Yeah, he's going to be the only person who's going to be in a greater hell from all of this, potentially, is Montreal watching.
Yeah, Joey Saputo watching. It's
not even just him, man. The fans, like the Montreal fans, who are just going to be like, "What the hell?"
It's like, what the hell, Joey?
Yeah.
When you look at, okay, before Bart left, we were kind of going over starting 11.
Okay.
And on the right-hand side, for me, it's Farsi over Gressel again, because you don't want Moreira left alone with Denny Bouanga. That, to me, was the largest question on the board for the lineup, was Columbus and how they're going to look on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat, in the sense that I'm very skeptical of how aggressive you want to be in these situations.
Right.
Because you just go out there. The thing is, there is risk reward with Julian Gressel. We know what he's capable of. Playoffs, you get more pragmatic, and you know what he is capable of doing. But you also watched a Seattle team that played pretty well against LA, couldn't find the breakthrough goal, could have found it in the first 10 minutes twice and didn't get it. And you got burned on that exact spot of the field where Julian Gressel gets sucked up in the attack. And it's one of those things that if he has a game like he had in Atlanta in the second leg, where it's not clicking 100%, and he doesn't look like himself, you got a business decision to make at that point. Because if he's not playing like the guy he can play like, you're not going to get defensive work out of him. And if his delivery isn't clicking that day, you got decisions to make. And I feel like Farsi gives you better security defensively. Yeah, he didn't have a great game, but he's more secure defensively. And I think I really like the idea of Julian Gressel coming off the bench late in a game, giving you something different and chasing that game over starting with him. And a lot of that is just because of what he brings, because it is a lot harder to close him down when you got tired legs. He's not always great at creating his own space. He doesn't always beat you off the dribble. He's not the quickest player in the world, but he can find space by being not the guy or the guy's guy, but being the third or fourth guy in those options. And I think with tired legs, if you bring him on in the 65th, 70th minute against tired legs, man, Julian Gressel could thrive.
What about C-Ram?
You can't not start Cucho.
That's what, and if you do,
you can't not start Cucho.
If in the 70th,
and C-Ram is your mercenary.
Yeah. So say 70th minute, you need to either put your foot on the throat or try to find something. Is it C-Ram in? And then you go offensive, and then you bring in C-Ram and Gressel with 20 to go or 30 to go if you really need to do something one way or the other. If you're still in a staring contest, I'm guessing they're both sitting. But at the same time, if you want to really make a statement in that final 25 or 30 one way or the other, then is it C-Ram and Gressel off the bench?
I think it is. And I think C-Ram can move around. He can play underneath Cucho if you wanted to have them play off of each other where, one man is playing the light post, the other one is, is running off of him. And they're both looking for the ball from Gressel. They both move really well on and off the ball. It is a luxury to have. I can't bench Cucho, man. He's been too good.
No.
He's too good in a flash of a pan moment.
Yeah.
You pay him for those moments. Even if he's not having a great game, you pay him for those moments.
So that's what we're staring at when it comes to MLS Cup 410 kick tomorrow when we're discussing the last game of the year in Major League Soccer. Premier League, I know that Tom has been stomping and storming around and yelling at the top of his lungs because Everton, despite the best efforts of the points deduction, is now out of the relegation zone. Big win over Newcastle yesterday, and I know that we're about to start this discussion before you hopped in. Spurs, first side in Premier League history to fail to win 5 consecutive games despite going 1-0 up in each match. First side in Premier League history to lose 3 consecutive home games despite going up 1-0 in each match.
So Spursian.
Spurs since the start of November, last in goals conceded, last in expected goals against, 19th in save ratio, 16th in shots faced, 16th in shots faced on target. So that's what you're looking at. And Spurs this season have lost the most points from winning positions. They have lost 16 points in winning positions, and that is a couple more than Brentford and Burnley. But Spurs right now, they've hit that first wall, and of course everyone is starting to panic, going, "Oh no, we got to change back."
You don't want to change back. I mean, you want to get healthy if you're Spurs. And you're going to have to make peace with your dear and fluffy Lord that this is how that man is going to play. And that's just how he's going to live his life. And it's high risk, high reward. You won't see some goals, but it's that philosophy of like, hey, we got a 1-0 lead. Should we protect it? We can protect it by making it a 3-0 lead.
Yes, absolutely. Spurs have yet to win a Premier League game since the start of November, losing 4, drawing 1. Won each of their first 10 Premier League games this season, a run that saw Ange Postecoglou named manager of the month in August, September, and October. Last 5 games could have, and this is from our friends at Sky. Their last 5 games could barely have been more incident-filled. They've scored first in all 5, leading for a total of 183 minutes and trailing for 108. Conceded 4 stoppage time goals in these games, twice in the home defeat versus Chelsea when they were down to 9 men, twice at Wolves that saw them relinquish a 1-0 lead late. They'd held since the 4th minute. No team have conceded more Premier League goals or faced a higher XG than Spurs since the start of November. Conceded 2+ goals in all 5 Premier League matches in that period. Suffered 3 successive home Premier League games for the first time since September of 2008. New Premier League record with the winless run of 5, despite them having the lead in all of those fixtures. Ange says, quote, "There's no point in feeling sorry for ourselves, looking for a cuddle anywhere. There's only one way to change our circumstances, and that's to come here on Sunday, put in a performance, not just play good football, but go out there and show some conviction about ourselves as a team. Sometimes we can disguise how we're going to play by some nice stuff, but like I said from day one, that's not what I'm about. I want to win, and that's why I came to this football club, and that's the message. We've still got a long way to go. I've said that from the start. We're still right at the beginning of what we need to create, and days like today just give me further evidence and fuel of how much we need to do." End quote. Postecoglou refuses to budge on his principles, and his opponents wouldn't want it any other way. Why? I mean, this is the thing for me. Ben,
but there is a comfort in knowing that that's what you're going to face. I mean,
yeah.
If I know that I'm going to go in and face a guy who is tied to his convictions that way, yeah, there's something comforting knowing that, like, that you know what he's going to do. There might be some quirks here and there, but you know it's not going to be totally off the wall.
Yeah. Spurs and Newcastle, by the way, who I think could probably have their own injury 11 versus 11. Legitimately, I think that you could probably have injured 11 dudes for Newcastle, injured 11 dudes for Spurs. I mean, this is like the ACC championship game, except it's with everybody on one side of the ball instead of just a quarterback. Literally, you could have an 11v11 of injured dudes in this matchup coming up on the weekend. And it is also the 3rd match in a week. So this you had weekend, midweek, weekend. Spurs right now favored at home at a +114. Newcastle comes to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which I still am shocked that they don't have a sponsor for yet, at a +225. That's the late game on Sunday. Crystal Palace is a big home dog at Selhurst Park. Liverpool's a -192 now. That has grown, and it could be the end of Roy Hodgson at a +534. Brighton favored at home -204 to Burnley. Manchester United favored at home -175 to Bournemouth, who've won 2 in a row. Brentford favored on the road at Sheffield United. Welcome back Chris Wilder at Bramhall Lane at a +350. Wolves could put the nail in Steve Cooper's coffin. Looks like Julian Lopetegui is warming up in the bullpen for Forest at a +334. Wolves at a -111. Crystal Palace still linked to picking up Steve Cooper to replace Roy Hodgson if Cooper's let go and Hodgson's let go. Keep an eye on that. Villa Arsenal is your late game on Saturday at a +242. Arsenal comes to town at +110. Your 4 games on Sunday. Everton is a +204 with their hot streak, with Chelsea coming to town at a +131. Craven Cottage, Fulham favored against West Ham at a +139. Luton Town at Kenilworth Road is a +1717 in the composite, hosting Manchester City at a -667. I just don't think that the composite wanted it to be a -666. And then Spurs and Newcastle is +114 for Spurs, once again hosting those 2 sides coming up this weekend. So that one's going to be fun for a bunch of different reasons. And Roy Hodgson, by the way, after he allegedly had something thrown at him, and it was probably like one of those hot hands things, He now bitterly regrets saying that the club's fans have been spoilt. Bitterly regrets his choice of words, suggesting Eagles fans had been spoilt with results at Selhurst Park in recent years, but vowed to continue the collected effort to push his team back up the table. 1 league win in their past 8 games. Hodgson remains determined, especially with Liverpool coming to town. I'm a bit distressed by it, really certainly distressed by my comments and a choice of words, which I bitterly regret on the post-match interview where they lost to Bournemouth. I mean, we have spoiled the fans in recent years. I don't think we have.
I feel like we've had this conversation locally before, but
yes, we have. I think the fans.
Oh God!
I think the fans have been very patient. Actually, they've been fantastic behind the scenes, and even during this bad spell. And so Hodgson continued for another 5 or 6 paragraphs. But yes, so Roy Hodgson apologized by saying that the Crystal Palace fans are spoilt.
Okay.
Yeah, so he got into a bit of trouble. Pep Guardiola says Manchester City is not the best team in the world right now. Jurgen Klopp says that Alisson and McAllister are doubts. No Joel Matip replacement is likely in January. Pochettino's not expecting Christopher Nkunku to return against Everton. Eric Ten Hag is saying that Marcus Rashford will return to form, and McTominay goals are no surprise to him. So that's what you're looking at from the Prem. See, I can't quite do it the way that Jason and Nick do it. I don't quite have the spark right there. I don't have the pipe.
Well, you also need to save your voice for next week.
I know, I absolutely do. Yeah. So me and my Diva mug and all of my tea will be definitely at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. And then we'll get into what to watch and anything else on your mind, sir, before we get out of here on an early drive time, SDH PM. Manchester United willing to listen to offers for Casemiro, Varane, and Jadon Sancho as Eric Ten Hag attempts to trim down the squad. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's acquisition of the 25% stake in Manchester United has been delayed because of legal structure matters. That was our weekly statement on the delays for Sir Jim Ratcliffe. That's also coming from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Tom and Ropes. Everton's Jared Brathwaite and Crystal Palace defender Mark Gahey high on Ange Postecoglou's wanted list as he reshapes the squad. Dele Alli close to a return to full training as he steps up his recovery from the thigh injury, which means he has yet to play this season. Liverpool keeping tabs on French defender Maxence Lacroix as they consider making a move for the Wolfsburg defender to provide cover for Joel Matip. 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Chelsea set to reject any offers that come in for Armando Broja in the January window, with Fulham interested. Fulham have also made Brazilian midfielder Andre of Fluminense their number 1 target should Joao Paulinho depart Craven Cottage in January. Mikel Arteta is keen to sign Paulinho from Fulham, likely to spell the end of Thomas Partey's time with the Gunners. Manchester United Newcastle now lead the race to sign Serhou Guirassy from Stuttgart. Oh, Zach Steffen and Colorado. What about that?
I mean, he's not clicking in Europe, is he?
No.
He's not playing, is he?
No.
Okay, go somewhere he's going to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to. I mean, and I don't want to. I don't have really any interest in it being here because at last check he still can't play with his feet very well.
It is true.
And Zach Steffen is an amazing shot stopper. Zach Steffen also hasn't played a lot recently, and has never been one to be great with his feet. And to play here in this system, you need to be very, very good with your feet. You need to be a very good passing option to play in and out of trouble as needed as a goalkeeper. Shot stopping, of course, very important. Positioning, very important. Communication, incredibly important. But you got to be able to play with your feet, man.
Mm-hmm.
And if Colorado wants to give him a bunch of money, Godspeed, Colorado. It's better than when you gave it to like 38-year-old Tim Howard.
Yeah. Let's see. Adrian Rabiot snubbing a move to the Prem to sign a new deal with Juve. Inter Milan set to break their wage structure to tie Lautaro Martinez down to a long-term deal. Lyon open to selling forward Ryan Cherki in January amid interest from West Ham and Chelsea. Lyon needs the money, considering where they are in the table. Timo Werner has been told by RB Leipzig sporting director Ruven Schröder he can leave on loan in January, but neither Manchester United or Real Madrid are likely to sign him. Ferran Torres has told Barcelona's manager Xavi he's committed to the club, doesn't want to leave in January. Lower division, Sunderland interviewing Swedish coach Kim Hellberg who has said he's leaving IFK Varnamo about becoming their next manager following Tony Mowbray's dismissal earlier this week. Johnny Otto having ongoing talks with Wolves over his future at Molineux after a recent training ground incident. Mikey Mignon, next time Nick is on the show, is considering his future at AC Milan after contract talks stalled with Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and PSG, all monitoring. Real Madrid have identified Bayern Munich's Alphonso Davies as their long-term solution at left back. With the Bundesliga club concerned, they won't be able to meet his wage demands in the future. Now, on TV, we'll do today. Wrapping up on BN, Ligue 1, and it's also on BN en Espanol. If you do not have BN and want to get BN and be a true sicko with all the stuff that they broadcast, get Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you can pick up BN, Libertadores, Brasileiro, CDO for the fans, Teise, Gold TV in English and Spanish, all the stuff. ESPNU, College Cup semis. Bart's West Virginia's taking on Clemson at 6, followed by Notre Dame and Oregon State. ESPN Deportes wrapping up second half. It's Getafe and Valencia. Portuguese Primera was on Gold TV earlier today. On the Plus, Belgian Pro wrapping up. Coventry City, Birmingham City, late second half. Bundesliga wrapped up. La Liga Las Palmas and Getafe is wrapping up second half. Same with Zaragoza and Espanyol in the second division, and Juve and Napoli going on right now in Serie A, wrapping up in short order. Jarrett, what else is on your mind before we go?
Honestly, and okay, yeah, let's do this because D. Graham asked about it. Garrison Tubbs. Another All-American trophy he can put on the case at Wake.
Yep.
Does he get a homegrown deal? I don't know. He is if you were going to put your favorite Christmas dish or Christmas candy on a player, he's a very good one to bet on. He is also a good example, as a number of these players have been, including Machop Chol, who also went to Wake Forest, of some guys just need to go to college to play for a bit. They need that little change of scenery. They're not ready when they're 18 years old. That's okay. They just need time. They just need to figure it out, and they need to mature a bit. They need to have a new environment. They need to have a different level of competition that's kind of an in-between level. Everyone takes a different path. Tubbs absolutely is putting up the performances that tell you, yeah, he needs to be in that consideration going forward. We shall see, because you have a number of homegrowns in there right now who are in a position where they need to start proving some stuff. Efrain Morales is about to have to start proving. He is in a put up and shut up year, I think, with Atlanta United too. And this is for him last year was his transition to playing center back. You want to see Noah Cobb put up. I don't think his is not as a dire as a put up shot. It's not a prove year in the same sense, but you want to see him put up big numbers, I think, with Atlanta United too. You also want to see that with Luke Brennan. You're telling these guys, hey, you're out there. I need you with the second team. You need to be putting up like some of the best performances in MLS Next Pro to force your way into that conversation, because you got a lot of young players who are in that fold. Machop Chol moving on, it sounds like, and I have to imagine there's got to be a team in this league that would have a use for him. You just got to keep the kid healthy.
Yes.
Justin Garces is another one now that just was not retained off his homegrown deal, and Garces's thing as well as injuries. Just could not seem to stay healthy with the knee injury last year. Gets healthy, and then the end of this year has another injury. Just cannot seem to stay healthy for the poor kid. And you're going to have a lot of bodies coming through here, and when you get all those homegrowns going through there, they start pushing each other for time. You got to make yourself stand out. I think Tubbs can do enough to get that attention. He's going to have to get it and then continue to grow and contribute and get those opportunities. And sometimes it takes time, like a Tyler Wolf did. Tyler Wolf, man, it took 3-4 years before he started coming good. And here we are, Tyler Wolff super sub.
Mm-hmm.
Long answer, short answer is, does Tubbs get a homegrown deal? I don't know, man, but that's if you're gonna start, if we're gonna start, juice boxing some Christmas side dishes, you might put maybe not your favorite one, but maybe one you really like. You're not passing up on the first time through.
Okay.
You're not passing it up.
Okay.
Maybe you put that on Garrison Tubbs.
Shohei Ohtani has arrived apparently in Toronto as of 12 minutes ago.
I swear to God, the best thing on the world, and they'll never do it, is if he got off that airplane wearing someone else's jersey.
Oh, that would have been amazing. But
it sounds like he's going to sign in Toronto.
Yeah, our friends up north are saying a 7 or 8 year deal.
The thing about this is, I part of me also feels like there's this thing, and especially we see it in baseball, I think as much, if not in more sports, where people love to be first to stuff.
Yeah.
And there's because it was reported that was going to happen, and then a bunch of people came out like, no, it's not, nothing's confirmed, nothing's the deal yet, and you're just throwing cold water on something that feels like an inevitability just so you can be the one who says official first.
Absolutely.
Great job. Make sure you pump up the tire on that wheelbarrow that's carrying your wedding tackle there, so you feel all nice and special. Like, dude, who cares, man?
Mm-hmm.
Dude's about to get north of $500 million to go play baseball. Godspeed, son. Go have a great time.
Yep.
And also, I need a whole bunch of people to realize the racial and national makeup of Toronto is probably way more diverse than they're probably thinking it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So hey guys, folks coming from from Japan, China, the Eastern Asia, they don't all just hang out on the West Coast.
No, they don't. Absolutely.
And find in Toronto.
Anybody who's been to the T-Dot can answer that question for you.
I hope he is happy with all of his money, and I hope he seems like a really good dude. I hope he has a wonderful time.
Yes. News out of Greenville. The Triumph have announced their year-end roster moves under new head coach, technical director Rick Wright, Tyler Pollock, Daniel Wu, Gunther Rankenberg, Jamie Smith, Nate Schultz, Liam McKinnon, Leonardo Castro will be returning. The club is continuing discussions with other players from the 23 squad, plan additional signings in the coming weeks. So that's your news out of Greenville on a Friday.
Again, you sloppy amateurs in baseball, go find someone in the SEC to show you how it is done, to use FlightAware and to track this stuff.
That's exactly what I've been doing the entire
amateurs.
I've been doing it the entire time. I was looking at it, as soon as
Jimmy Rain would never.
As soon as I got a tail number, I have it dialed up on FlightAware, and I've been watching it the whole time ever since. I mean,
the best one was all the people in Texas talking about Miss Terry was over in Texas looking at houses for Nick.
That's a hard no, but whatever corporate section of Pierce,
that's a dark age from the early 2010s for people who might have been a little bit younger.
Yes.
Some people might have been a little bit younger when Texas every offseason was allegedly trying to court Nicholas Saban.
Yes, Esquire. Yes. So we might have something up on Sunday after MLS Cup, just so folks can have stuff fresh in their mind, do something on tape. But remember, next week, it's morning update, afternoon update, because it'll be with Jason, Maddie, Drew, Nick, Jarrett, everybody, because the trade window opens, free agency opens, waivers, all that stuff. That kicks in 9 o'clock Monday morning, and I'll be wearing makeup and a suit. So morning update, afternoon update, and they'll get everything sorted through, and that'll be all week next week. So morning update, afternoon update with everything going on. And then in 2 weeks, on National Signing Day, it's the release of the MLS schedule for 2024. So we'll be getting all of that stuff going on in a hurry. So Jarrett, since you came in and decided to come and hang out here on the party, Emilio, what the blank with Soccer Don, Emilio? Oh, well, I mean, so let's recap before we go.
Soccer Don did his State of the League.
Yes.
Song and dance.
Yes. So Yes, exactly. So it's no fourth DP, but after the board meetings next week, they are going to be announcing some changes to the structure of financials, whatever that means. But he did mention that after the that after the board meetings next week, they're going to be announcing some things, exciting things, having to do with the financials. So we'll keep an eye on that. They are going to be playing through Copa America. World Cup 26, they will not. They cannot afford to duck out because of the financials that are attached. They can't duck out of Copa America. They'll continue playing. World Cup might be the separate deal. He believes that there are also probably too many roster designations. It might trim that down. Right now, they're going to stick with 30 teams. He said right now, as I said, if folks are going to sit there and go, here's $500 million, then the soccer don will sit there and go, hey, let's go to 32. Who else wants in? And so you'd probably do it that way. But those are the biggest things. He enjoyed he enjoyed what they saw in the first year with Apple TV. He enjoyed the playoff format and thought that it serviced everything in Major League Soccer very, very well. And the Soccer for Good OG enjoyed your trumpets.
Yeah, I'm still not over the fact that the Village has changed their name to Brave SC, and they still have the flying sky bison from Avatar as a logo, except they gave it a Florida-shaped tattoo over the eye.
I know.
Which is just the most Florida thing you could have done, is to give yourself we're a Florida's team. What'd you do? We gave ourselves a face tattoo.
Yes.
Well, when you're right, you're right.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Yes, 2 times $500 million is $1 billion. That is absolutely true. Like I said, somebody comes walking on your door and says, hey, here's $500 million. Can we come and party? What's MLS going to say? No.
Yep.
Yeah, no. So that's a Friday. We'll probably have something up on Sunday after MLS Cup, but once again, Monday morning update, afternoon update, because that's the opening of the window and all that stuff. And I might poke my head in on Monday or Thursday before I'm in DC on Thursday and Friday. So we'll see what's going on. But Jarrett, since you are here, sir, if you would please send us home to wrap up another week.
Boocha to y'all.
What he said. MLS Cup Saturday. We'll be back at it again on Monday. Bye.